Hello, welcome to the beautiful city of Leeds. It's now almost 9 AM on Wednesday the 25th of February 2026. Air temperature 8°C, wind 4 miles an hour from the south. This is a typical walk through of the city on a weekday at around 9 AM. See, much of Leeds is pedestrianised. It can be a bit difficult getting a car into Leeds, into the central car parks these days, because there are bus gates waiting to catch the unwary motorist, shall we say. News being that it's on the Leeds-London main line, so it can be easy to get here. In many ways, Leeds is one of the best cities in the UK. You've got all the beauty of the grand old architecture from a very long time ago, which has been preserved in Leeds. And at the same time, as you'll probably notice, I'm walking through Leeds without too much concern regarding having the phone snatched out of my hand. You wouldn't dare do this down in London, especially where I walked out of the train station with the phone in my hand filming. Yorkshire is different, I think. So it seems, shall we say. Now almost exactly 6 years since the end of the last COVID lockdown in the UK, and I remember coming into Leeds for the first time in 3 years, and it's unchanged. Many of the small towns, places around the UK were decimated by the lockdown, lack of trade, etc. Many shops closed. Leeds opened up almost untouched. I couldn't see a difference. There must be a lot of wealth in Leeds. City opened up again, and on the first day of trading it looks pretty much like it does now. Don't you think this is a beautiful city? And only 13 minutes by train from where we live. Said there are always seem to be cancellations. The train we were booked on was cancelled, delayed. And then another train turned up. This is just before the rush hour when everybody's trying to get into Leeds, and you've got a 3-coach train turning up. So a few minutes ago when I was filming on the head road, there are still a few diesel buses in Leeds, although now they're mostly switching to electric, battery electric. I remember in the very early 1950s, it might have been about 1951 or 52, going on one of the last trams in Leeds. You know, the old trams with the overhead cables powered by mains electricity, the things that had been there for decades before that. They ripped all the tram tracks out. The trams were gone, and there was a move towards petroleum-based transport in Leeds, diesel in other words. Things, of course, have gone full circle, and the country everywhere is switching back to electric, battery electric. Oh, this is where we are. To reference where I'm standing right now, it's with the junction between Boar Lane and Briggate.
Surrounded by animals and just getting to nature and getting We hold fast one.
Of the reasons that Leeds markets are so successful, I think you can go into the multi-storey car park here, straight across, and you're into the market. I don't know if you could make that out. That's the playhouse, and John Lewis there. That's the Victorian Centre. Now 10:20 a.m. in Leeds Market on the 25th, Wednesday. I don't think it's market day today by the look of it. Stalls are open, so we could have a walk through.
Would you like it? I'll tell you what I'll do. If you want it, £4.
No, yeah, you can.
£4 now, you can take it. £4. Because I'm moving house.
Market day, I don't know. Perhaps it's all the stores are not open because it's not a Saturday. We don't often come to Leeds Market.
No.
Strawberries, £2.50 each. And I'm still surprised at it really, even after all these decades. Because when I was a child, you had nothing like this in winter time. All you had was cabbage. Nips, remember those? Had apples at the end of winter. Those were the old apples that had been in storage from the previous autumn, and there were only one or two types of apple that sort of lasted through the winter there. Pretty grim, you know, compared with what's available now. Believe it or not, in the very early 1950s where we used to live, fruit used to come round with a horse and cart. That's right, there'd be a single horse pulling a cart. Where we lived on this little estate, there were the lighting, the street lighting was still gas lamps, and a guy came round, put a ladder against it and lit the gas mantle as it got dark. Life is just so much infinitely richer these days, I think. There was a market where we used to live, a smaller one. Produce, vegetables and so on would be winter produce grown in the UK. That literally limited you to winter cabbage, turnips or swedes or whatever. As I was saying, you can literally buy anything in Leeds. Leeds doesn't have an indoor shopping centre in the centre of Leeds. It's got the Victorian Centre and so on, but that seems to be more of an upmarket thing for brands, you know, high market brands, shall we say. But these arcades have been here a very long time, and in the 1950s you could come here, you could come into Leeds and at least be undercover from the rain, even though they were exposed to the air at the end, so you got the low temperatures still. But many of our small towns here in Yorkshire, you've got somewhere to go inside then. You know, often in a small town Yorkshire, you're stuck outside, rain lashing down. We'll come out of this one and have a walk down Thornton's arcade over there. Here is Starbucks. This is a smaller arcade. That area used to be a beautiful indoor shopping centre, you know, sealed off from the outside atmosphere, unlike the Packhorse Centre which we're approaching down there. And it was called The Point, I think, and you could actually arrive there, park your car, walk straight out of the car park into a large cafe area, have your breakfast there, and walk out into the shops. But they've knocked it down, or they're turning it into something else. And here is yet another arcade, the Queen's Arcade. So we'll walk back down this one, and right at the end there you can probably see the Victoria Quarter. That's the other quite upmarket one with the high status brands that I mentioned earlier. Here we have an interesting shop, Aladdin's Cave. Some of the jewellery that's on sale in Leeds is quite remarkable. Victorian jewellery for sale in there. We're walking back through the Victoria Quarter now, which is where we just came out of a few minutes ago. I got the wrong one. Have you noticed this morning all the buses that we've seen seem to be diesel? I wonder what's happened. They were all electric when we last came a few months ago. Look, another one, diesel. I wonder what went wrong there then. Something's happened, surely. Not one electric bus in Leeds. So this is the part of the shopping centre I got mixed up with there. You got Cafe Concerto there. Market that we just left a few minutes ago. Here is Cafe Concerto. Have you noticed something about this cafe? Every seat is a comfortable seat and not a little hardback chair like you used to have at school. You notice these things when you're my age more, I suppose. Here we are, anyway, entering John Lewis. Stop me filming. You've got this doleful, depressing, downbeat music. I don't know whether you can hear it. In fact, I've walked back out. Who wants to listen to that? So back out here. Up there is the hedgerow. It's Eastgate. the entrance to the Victoria Centre, to the Victoria John Lewis car park. Tabula rasa, clean slate, that means, doesn't it? Like a clean slate, doesn't it? There's nobody in it. Ah, an electric bus. A mix of old and new architecture in central Leeds. However, all of this old architecture was blackened with soot in the early 1950s when I first came to Leeds. Since the Clean Air Act, of course, and coal fires not being allowed anymore, it's been cleaned up, and with diesel cars and buses soon to be consigned to the dustbin of history when everything will be all electric, it's going to all stay that clean.
Settle from services to Ferry Stephen, Appleby, Langley train, Ferry Stephen, Appleby, Langley, Lazenby and Kirkwood, Armfleet and Carlisle today. This is due to urgent repairs to the railway.
And then do their thing. Understand? Mainly do that all of it.
So we were about to watch them, but the rest of them were like I'm really sorry.
No, man, sono adesso sopra un manca.
Io so. Truck it.
Non mi sei vai detto che va.
Io stavo usando il video around the show.
Il lei.
Genuinely upset like the teacher.
Poza wishing to remain seated and running, please come to our code in front of your phone structure. Thank you.
quasi non è ben tutto. Le cose anche le cose le fanno io bene, cambia. Vabbè.
Down in this direction, 200 miles to London in about 2 hours on one of the fast trains. That direction Leeds, about 13 minutes.